stocks. Like PayPal, someone asked me, I think earlier today, is this a reversal extension to the downside? And it very well could be. But I'd rather wait. Like I'd rather buy this like up here because there's so many good opportunities and other names right now, and you're just fighting a lot of this resistance. Look at all this distribution. Like look at this volume relative to here. Like this is huge selling volume. Let other people fight this thing and be patient for it. Like this is where the change of character happened to the downside. And sorry for all these lines. Let me clean this up. Um, this is where the change of character went down. So just like wait. There's no reason to try to pick a bottom in this stock. It could go down to here, and then maybe it makes a new high in like 5 years or 10 years or whatever. Like someone made a good point on Twitter the other day. This could be moving from a growth to value situation. Microsoft started doing that right here. Microsoft didn't make a new high again until, it took 15, 16 years. And Microsoft's been a freaking amazing stock since, which comes back to that point. If it's going to be such a great stock, you can wait until it gets back near the highs, and guess what? You're not going to miss this 50% move if you caught it here, and you're just not going to miss. You're going to be really glad you didn't hold it for 15 or 16 years at a loss. Just wait, just be patient, because if it's going to be a good stock, it's going to come back and you're going to get your chance to get on board. And like UPST here, like this is the name everybody loves. And I think if you look at the monthly and weekly on this, like this thing's still okay. But like if you could wait till up here and feel real confident that you're going to be okay, like are you going to, if this thing does go from 400 to 1,000, are you going to miss the move from like 270 to like 320? Like who cares? I don't care. But I do think this is going to work here. But just my point is like, let the stock, work through this, and you don't have to be the first guy in. You want to catch the easy part of the move. You don't need to pick the low. So that's just one thing I'll say in these growth names. They can really, really unwind when they want to.
Yeah, perfect. I think that's really important to remember. And I'm sure we'll touch on even more examples and everything in webinar 4. But yeah, I think that's really, really important to remember. I think, Oliver, if it's good with you, we'll just kind of take some questions as they come in. And I see a lot of thank yous in the chat, so that's awesome. Let's see. So I do see some questions about how you use the 5-minute chart. I think this is probably a good point to remind everybody that you want to stay on the higher time frames as possible. And if there's no setup on the higher time frame, there's no point going on the 5-minute chart. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think you can lose more money on the 5-minute chart than you can make. I used to look at the 5-minute chart like very, very, very regularly, and I think it does more harm to me than good. As far as when I think you should use it, I would say, for example, let's say that you're watching this pattern and you're here. Let's just go into it and see what this looked like. I don't even know because I wasn't trading the 5-minute. Like to me, the first setup on the 5-minute here is like maybe here or here. And I can just tell you, like, I got into this down here at 99. So I think you can get a better price on the higher time frame sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
look at what this looked like on the 15-minute, big bar, right? Which is good. Now let's look at what it looked like on the hourly. On the hourly, it looked like a breakout. And when it took this area is when I started buying it. So to me, I got a better price on the hourly than I would have on the 5-minute probably. So, I think the 5-minute will make you look for trades. Where the time to use it, I guess, is when you're it's at a daily spot that you want to execute on, maybe you can zoom into the 5 minute, like literally when we're at that spot. Um, but I'm trying to move. I don't look at the 5 minute at all really anymore. I look at the 15 minutes still. Um, like to me in this, like you got a wedge pop here on the 15 minute back up through these moving averages. So the 15 minute I'll kind of look at on the open, and then it's what I'm trying to do more now. And trust me, guys, I get sucked back into the 15 all the time because that's what I'm used to. But I'm trying more to step out to the hourly, because I think you get less signals and you get more confirmation on your signals. And if you're really doing your homework at night, I don't think it should affect you. If you're really looking for bigger moves.
Perfect. And this is a really good question from Paul. Can Oliver talk about handling rebuys after a proper entry, but something happens and you got shaken out? Do you move on and find another setup, or try to keep an eye on that stock and wait for another chance to get back in?
Yeah, so here, let's talk about Airbnb because I just got shaken out of this. I'm super pissed about it. And I'll tell you how I'm thinking about it. So I bought Airbnb. My average was like right in here, I think. And I actually held through this. And then I got out of it in here or something. And I bought back this day. And then I got shaken out of it or stopped out of it that day. And then I had my eye off it and I didn't catch it Friday. Um, I think this weekly looks exceptional. And I would love to see it kind of handle out here. But as what I'm going to be looking for, because I'm not going to chase it up here, is I'm going to kind of look for, maybe it goes a little higher and, hopefully it would do something like this, or maybe it goes even higher. But I think at some point it'll give some sort of pattern near this distribution from its initial, like move higher. So that's kind of how I'm thinking about this specific one is if I can find an area to get on this, in this range somewhere, I don't know where, that's how I'm going to play it. And that's really just it. Like, in retrospect, looking at this, like I'm a total complete idiot in that we had a big volume breakout. Like we haven't even tested the 10-day moving average on this thing. And I chopped myself up in it. It's one of my weaknesses is looking too close. Like my mentor is always on me, like stay on the weekly, like see the big picture. And this stock did nothing wrong. And looking at lower time frames is kind of where you get shaken out of stocks, which is part of the reason I'm trying not to look at the 5 minute at all, is you'll lose your position on the 5 minute. And then you step back and you're like, well, this looks great. This hasn't even touched the 10-day. But now, yeah, like I'll look for a new opportunity here. Maybe it comes up in bases, builds like a flag or something. Maybe it trades down Monday and we get a pivot here. I don't think that's what's going to happen, but possibly. Or maybe it goes higher and builds a handle before really pushing out. But that's what I'll do is I'll stay on these. Like I missed you. And clearly this thing is just being accumulated. So I'm not going to chase it up here because that's just not how I roll. But trust me, like if this is a first stage base and this thing is going to go higher, like it's probably going to go to like $500 and it's going to give you an opportunity to get on. So just don't chase it and be patient. Like it will give you a chance. Like Dash is another one that has a beautiful weekly and it exploded higher. I personally think it's going to follow through and go higher, but at some point this will give you an opportunity to get on board. Like they always do. And you just have to be patient and not get FOMO, because is what'll happen is it'll go higher, you'll get FOMO and you'll buy the exact top and then it'll pull back. You'll sell at it at the low, and then it'll be the area where you should have been patient for and waited to get long. So you just got to admit, like, this is what I do is I just say like, God, I'm a moron. And I need to like punish myself and watch it, but just be disciplined and wait, because here's the deal. There's other opportunities that are going to set up in the interim. and you can take those, maybe Uber or Lyft goes. So like I'm watching these, but I'm not taking my eye off you. I'm on Roblox, and if you goes higher, Roblox is gonna go higher, and then I'm gonna get a chance to get on you. Like you better
Right.
believe it.
Right.
So just yeah, I just be patient and I wait for the next opportunity. That's really how it goes. And I mean, really, if you think about kind of how I've traded this Nvidia, I have like I ripped the Nvidia from like here to here. I got in it like here to like here, and you know I've been able to get back on this and taking really really good trades in it. If I take a trade, let's say I take a trade from like 100 to 140, and then it bases out for like 3 weeks, and let's say I buy it back at like 145, I don't really care.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say I rip it from like 145 to 200 or something, like I don't care, because maybe in that time period between 140 and 145 I was on some other stocks, and that's just how it goes. So I messed up Airbnb because I was looking too close. Like I could, trust me, like I could beat myself up like you wouldn't believe, but it is what it is, and what's done is done. And now we just got to wait for our next opportunity. This still hasn't even made a new high.
Right.
So, like, if this is going to be a huge winner, like I think it's going to be, like I think this thing's going to go to $1,000. My wife owns this in our long-term account. Like I think it's going to go to $1,000. Um, but that's not how I trade.
Right.
But if it's going to, there's going to be another opportunity to get long it. The worst thing you can do is chase it, because my bet is if you chase it, you'll get chewed up again, and then you'll be like really, really pissed, and you'll never trade it correctly.
Right.
So for me, I'm focused on like something like Docs or Uber. Get those ones right. Hopefully, knock on wood, and then we'll get our set. We'll get our opportunity. These things are just hopefully getting going, and you're gonna get your opportunity if you're patient.
Perfect. Let's see. There are some questions about how you basically watch the volume intraday, but most likely you're just watching the volume on an intraday chart and looking for a big burst right near that pivot. Is that right?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm probably less like by the book, where some people are probably like watching the percentage volume. I sort of do kind of trade on the rhythm or feel of the stock and the market overall. And then, maybe later in the day, I'm like, for example, Roblox, because this is one that just went, like, this volume, like, was huge in that first hour. Like, it was
Right.
massive, it was unmistakable. And to me, it's pretty obvious. Like, I'm not
Mm-hmm.
looking at some volume run rate, I'm not looking at that. I'll tell you, I was looking at, for Roblox, my mark was 30 million shares, because I felt like this bar did like 27 million, 28 million. And that first hour when we did 10 million, I was like, all right, I think we're going to take out 30. 30 was my bogey. Like I wanted to do more volume than this basing day, and we did that. But I pretty much knew we were going to do that. Like literally, I bet if we look at like the first 5 minute bar, I wasn't looking at the 5 minute, but we did 6 we did a million in the first 10 minutes, and right here we had saw 1.5 million come in on bar three, and we did 2.5 million shares in the first 15 minutes. I mean, you can do the math or whatever, but like I felt pretty good. We were going to do 30 million shares, and that's what I was thinking mentally. Like I trade with Raider in the day, and like that's what I was saying. It's like 30 million shares. Like that's what we want. And it
Mm-hmm.
was pretty clear in those first 15 minutes we were going to do 30 million shares. So that's for me kind of how I'm thinking about it.
Perfect. And there was a question here from Dave about whether you incorporate VWAP at all into your analysis.
Yeah, so you can see here this pink line on the intraday chart is the VWAP. Um, I pay attention to the VWAP. One of the things that I'm trying to add to my toolbox, I just can't get it to work on Thinkorswim the way I want, is the anchored VWAP. Brian Shannon's anchored VWAP. Brian's on me to start using that, and I think it's like another tool I need to add. So I'm actually thinking of moving off Thinkorswim to TC2000 or maybe TrendSpider or something, because I think it's a tool that I really need to start using. From when I traded institutional, I really understand VWAP and stuff. So it's something that I'm looking to start paying attention to more. I see a lot of stocks have turning points right at the AVWAP. Like Roblox, I'd be setting it right here on this gap up for sure. And my bet is this will go up, and at some point it'll come back and test that VWAP level, and it'll be like a good area to add. So it's something that I've got to start doing. I just haven't done it yet because I don't have the tools to do it on Thinkorswim.
Perfect. And there's a good question here from Vanessa. Basically, are you more cautious with new buys given that the Nasdaq is kind of extended within its price cycle?
So I will tell you, like for me, like it's always easier to be buying down here. And unfortunately, I had some great positions here that I kind of took off into strength. And, that's kind of always the dilemma in selling into strength is, sometimes it can be harder to get back on. But based on what I'm seeing in the sense that a lot of these newish type leaders are breaking out now, whereas the names that broke out down here were like the names that we've been trading this, the last year or two, the AMDs, the NVIDIAs, the Teslas. And now that I'm seeing these new types of leaders break out, I think the action of individual stocks is always going to be more important to me than what the index is doing, even though I'm paying attention to the index cycle. So my hunch and time of year, like November, December are the best times of year for me. So I'm inclined to think we rally into year end. Hopefully we make like a basin break here. So like we had our wedge pop, our cross back. This will be our first basin break. So my hunch is we have a basin break here, go higher, have another one, and then, maybe blow off like end of January or something like that. I have no idea, but that's kind of what I'm thinking. So I don't think we're really that far along in the index cycle personally. But we'll see, but that's kind of my thought process.
Perfect. All right. I think we've been going almost 4 hours now. To wrap things up, could you bring up a chart of Tesla because we've got some homework for everybody watching here. So if you could go to kind of the 2020 run, basically into that the breakdown. What we want to do, and we've included this in your workbook, is to mark up entry points that you've learned, basically entry steps that you learned within this webinar. Just like the UPST example with webinar one, mark that up and post it on Twitter, and tag Traderline, tag Oliver, tag myself, and we'll try to get you as much feedback as you can on those setups. And I think Tesla's a really good example. Actually, even going back to the 2019 run with the earnings gap up, there's so many great examples of textbook entry setups. And Oliver, maybe we'll go through kind of how you would label this later on in a future webinar.
Okay. Yeah. We can start off next session with that.
Perfect. So yeah, definitely want to see, we've got hundreds of people in here, so I want to see a lot of responses on Twitter. Definitely tag us, Traderline, myself, and Oliver, and we'll try to get you as much feedback as possible. With that, Oliver, any like closing words to kind of wrap everything up when it comes to entry setups and tactics?
No, just actually is what I'll do is I'll show you here what I do real quick on Thinkorswim when I'm going
Sure.
through names. So like, let's say I want to like do the work, go through old leaders and trade them bar by bar. Like, how would you have traded these stocks just like this? Like break out of the flag, like how would you have traded this? And like, try to be honest with yourself and, get the mental reps, go through chartpattern.com or whatever. You don't even need to, you can just go through all these old leaders and take them bar by bar and trade them, get the mental reps in, because it's just going to, allow you to trade live a lot better. So put in the work, I guess is what I would say.
Perfect. I think we'll wrap it there. Thanks so much for joining us today. I hope you guys have a great rest of your weekend. I see a lot of thank yous in the chat, in the chat for you, Oliver. So that's great to see. And yeah, we look forward to seeing you in the next session and also in webinar 5 as well. So thanks so much again for joining us, and we'll see you guys in future sessions. Thanks.
All right. Thanks, guys.